Welcome back to another episode of a very basic space program. Last time we had a slight issue with the Coniston 2, which means although we're recovering it, we're not getting much of it back. And we started building our Atlatjav so that we can actually try and break the 3,000 kilometer downrange contract. So let's see how all this pans out in this episode, shall we? Right, so here we are in the spaceplane hangar, and we're looking at one of the things we have to sort out. We have to sort out another plane. So this is the Coniston 3. You'll notice the major difference obviously being the white stripe that we've put on it and the fact it says Coniston 3 on it. Now, what we've actually done is we've put these 3 XLR11 engines in instead of 2. And what we're also going to do is we're going to just make sure that we have set all of these tanks, let's see, uprated to the newest, lightest form. This is the SEP Al 2, which makes it a little bit lighter, a little bit better. So we've got a lot of thrust, we've got a bit more delta V. It's going to cost us a bit more time to build it unless I tool these. So let us have a look. How much is it going to cost me to tool these? It takes it down by 50 days. And it cost me 4,000 to tool it, which is the price of the plane, and it saves me 50 days. Oh, that is a difficult one, isn't it? That is a difficult one. If we were going to use these sizes again, it would be really useful. It is only 4,000. I think we can afford it for that, so there we go. Right, so I think the Coniston 3 is ready to go. We're going to put that into the build queue. First of all, we're going to fix the parachute situation because for some reason this is in the wrong place. There we go. Right, there we go. That's ready, that's ready, that's ready. Good. So this thing should be ready to go. So we're going to put that into the build queue. There we go. Now, let's get on with some research and some bigger rockets. Right, you will have noticed that our funds have gone down since the intro. That is because we've put a point into our R&D just to bring it up a little bit, which means that we are looking at 23 days for this to finish. This vessel is 77, and then we've got the Coniston 3. I think we're going to keep the Coniston 2 shell. We can even have a look at it at some point, but just as a reminder, the fact that it survived, we don't get much for scrapping it at all, I don't think. If we're really hard on money at some point, we might scrap it, but yeah. So we need at least about 50 of that for the new Atlatjav when we need to put the engines on it. So I think we're just going to warp forward to 1955, or well, actually, is it going to be? No, we're going to be getting the engines before the end of this year, which is good. So there we go. The engines are in. Right, so to edit this, we're going to click on the little star button, and then we can edit. So here we have our Atlatjav. We're just going to hold down the shift, move the whole vessel up just a smidgen. Right, we've done 33 build, so we're on, let's see, it was originally at 33, so what we're gonna, that loses a little bit by doing that. So let's get this engine thing. Engine, where are you? Which is the one I want? That's the one I want. Right, let's just hold down the Alt key there so we can put it in position. Wonderful. That should now be in position. All the staging is almost correct. So we're then going to put this in, and oh, that's annoying. So we've not saved any time at all, but at least we've done the work. I mean, I know we could have actually put another rocket together and done a sounding rocket or something like that, but in all honesty, we could have just waited around for the 50 days anyway. If we'd have had the accident with the Coniston before then, it would have been helpful, but yeah, it doesn't matter. So we lost about 20 days of this. Not a big issue. Right, there we go. That's that done. Do we need to do any tooling? Is there any tooling required? Nope, not at all. Avionics is good. We're still under the range. We have well over what I want for this flight, which is good. Now it's just a case of whether it works or not. That's the concern. So hopefully this thing will work. Right, let's get going. Let's get this built, save the edits and move on. And there we go. We're going to pay an awful lot of cash to unlock that, I think. After making the edit, we need to make sure we move the Atlanta Jav up, and I'm actually going to make a duplicate just in case, and that'll sit at the bottom after the Coniston. Now we have 43 left. We could stick some into Atlanta Jav, or we could actually put some into research. And I think I want to. I think I want to put at least one in. But what else have we got that we need to do? So get rid of this. We have the tracking station, which would give us patched conics, which would be useful. We do have this, which would allow us another contract, which if we're going to go for orbital stuff, might be useful. This is completely out of our reach right now. That is an expense I don't want to have. Astronaut Complex is a complete waste of time at the moment because we don't want to perform EVAs because, well, we're not in a situation to do EVAs. So I think the ones that we'd want to make changes to are tracking station and mission control at the moment. We could start the mission control one, and it might be worth us doing it, but I think we're just going to spend the money on an upgrade point because it's just better to do that. Right, so we'll get that into the R&D. That's 10 a year now. You will notice I'm not spending science at the moment, primarily because I don't need to. I get the free upgrade points just for getting it, not for the spending of it. Early on in RP-1, you used to actually, or in RP-0, you used to get an extra upgrade point for every science you basically unlocked. Even if you hadn't researched it, you got a science for it. That changed to being the total science, which I think is probably a better system actually, because it meant you sometimes would play the game where you'd unlock the things you really wanted, and then you go for the cheapest thing possible to get those free upgrade points, and you could play it a bit. So we're not in a hurry to unlock those at the moment. We've got a nice line of things that we're working on, and I think that's what we're going to go for. So I'm going to move forward now 130 days to our next flight, and we're going to see how that goes. So please join me in the middle of 1955, I guess it'll be. So it is the 1st of the 5th, 1955, all the fives, and our Atlanta Jav 1 is built, rolled out on the pad, and ready to go. So I think we're just going to go for this. Let's hopefully get this mission completed. Here we are on the launch pad with Atlanta Jav 1. I think the plan for this is going to be go up. We're going to use the smart ASS. We're going to go up, try to get to about 45-degree angle before this first stage burns out. Then maybe, I think, coast with this, because this should hopefully coast in a reasonably stable manner. We've seen that when it's out of fuel, this thing tends to be reasonably stable, and we've got this extra weight on the end that's going to hopefully hold it facing forward. Then as we get a little bit higher, thinner air, we'll go for separation of the fairings, then we'll go for these separation and solids spin motors, and then activate the actual Aerobee engine, or the AJ10 engine, and then just hopefully go for it. If it starts to deviate before that, we'll just fire it off as soon as possible, but I really want to get to a decent sort of low drag situation on that. So let's get this going. So we're going to hit Z to give us a bit of the thrust power, and I think we are ready to go. So let's start engines and fire away. Right, we are up and going. So we're going to start pitching straight away. Start pitching over straight away. Get that thing over. There we go. There we are. Ease it over. We want to keep it stable, keep it stable, keep it safe. We've got a longish burn on this rocket, so we don't have to worry too much about it. Right, we've not even burned down to a minute left on this. This is good. We're still in the thick stuff though, so we've got to be careful. This is down to a 70-degree angle now. Right, keep going. I want to get down to about 65 and hold it there just a little bit as we go through max Q. We're going to hold it stable. We don't want to move too much. Right, we should be beyond max Q now, so we can start turning again. Got about 48 seconds now, so keep going. We've got altitude going up. That's nice. We're getting high. We're getting into the nice thin stuff. Right, we've got about 35 seconds left, and we're heading over to 45, and we're at 45, and we're just going to hold it at 45. So we're ahead of our turn right now, just holding it at 45 for as long as possible. We want to get into the thinnest air we can possibly get into, as quickly as we can possibly get into it. Right, it's going up. We're getting ready for the engine to cut out. Any moment it will start to stutter and die, and then we have to decide if we're going to go straight away. I'm going to hold it, I think. So you can see we've got that there. We're going to hold it, and it seems to be reasonably stable. We seem to be stable in the atmosphere like this. This is good. Those fins are helping. A bit like a die. We're sort of, yeah, I think we're gonna hold it. So I think we get to 100. I think that's when we're gonna fire it up. Right. Decouple those and fire and fire. There we go. We're now spinning, and we've got the ARB fired. We do not have control of this craft now. So we've broken the uncrewed speed record already, so that's some money in the bank straight away. We're climbing and climbing and climbing. We've got a really high apoaps now. We're just going to keep going as far as we can, as high as we can. So it's got to keep pushing. We've got another 1,000 meters per second. We're going to be hopefully over 5,000 meters per second, on a good way onto orbit. Actually, it's a big good chunk of orbit done there with this craft. We're over the 4,000. We're over the 5,000. We're not going to hit the 7,000, and we're out. And now it's just a waiting game. So we're going to speed this up now. Right, when we get to what's our peak? 1,000. That's high. Okay, let's see. We're halfway there. We're going well. I think we might have this. We've got to get to 1,500 before we start coming down. Come on. We've gone very high. I could have actually gone for a lower angle on this. It might have been better. Oh, this is going to be close, is it? No, I think we've got this. I think this is going to be good, actually. I think it's going to be really... We are going to be out of battery. I don't think you need to have battery at the end of this, though. Right. I think the battery is gone. Our antenna is gone, if nothing else. We're going through a radiation belt. That's interesting. Have we actually got any science on this? I don't... If I've got science on... We actually do. We actually have science on it. That's hilarious. Right. So I could have actually stripped it off and we could have gone further. So if we don't make it, it's my own fault. Right, we are still going up. We can speed this up a bit more. We're out of electricity. He keeps cutting us because we're out of electricity. Okay. Right, we're 100 times our thing, and we're coming back down now. I think we've got this. Slow it down. Yes, done. Sorted. So we had a load of distance. In fact, can we bring up... Where's our flight recorder? What's our actual downrange? Downrange is not coming up. 1.99. It stopped. We had full storage, so it didn't make it with enough storage for it. Okay. Right, before we come back into the atmosphere, we can actually range safety this, I think. Everything completed. All done. Range safety before we hit the atmosphere. Oh, that's interesting. It said we were out of electricity. Oh, it was the probe that was out of electricity. That's interesting. Right, so the actual body of the other craft was out of electricity. We still had some, but we don't have any signal. Right, can we range safety without signal? Yeah, there we go. Success is ours. Back to the Space Center. Right, we are back from the mission. We have a load of cash, not because we got a lot from completing the mission, the 3,000 kilometer mission, but because we got a lot from the actual speed records as well, which was really good for us. So we've got a big chunk of cash now. We don't get any upgrades because we didn't get any science from it. I'm actually having a look at this material science. We've got this that we need to get. And then we've got this constellation, Coniston 3, it's going to go. We can actually get rid of the Javelin. Scrap that. Gives us a little tiny bit of cash back. There we go. And we can now look in here and see that we have first artificial satellite, which he gives us a little bit of money first. And then we also have first scientific satellite, which requires that we do specific orbits, and that gives us a wodge of cash as well. So I think, thank you very much, I think we're going to be looking at this. So when you complete this contract, all sounding rocket contracts will no longer be available. Okay. Balance the cost and benefits when you have the time to do it. We're supposed to get this up. We've got to have a periaps of above 150. The orbit doesn't matter. The first scientific satellite. Make sure your craft contains cosmic ray science experiment. And we'll need science returned. So this is more like your sort of Sputnik 3 or Explorer 1, obviously. And it's going to need to have a periaps of between 200 and 900. and an apoapse over that. So we need quite an elliptical orbit. It needs quite a degree of ellipse there. Got to have, after 1 day, you've got to have 1 unit of charge, electric charge at least, and you've got to check for stability for a day. Okay, that's interesting. So I think we need to look at that. We also need to return to looking at these and getting these done. So let me have a think about this, and we'll get right back to it. Right, so what I have done after looking at all the contracts is I've spent some science. That's right. I've gone for this satellite era electronics research, which has then allowed me to get further on in my avionics and in my science, primarily because this will give us access to the Geiger-Müller and things like that, and we can also then we can have some really nice avionics. If you actually look at the avionics here, this is the tier 3 science core in particular. The power draw on it goes down by 99.4%. That means it's so much more power efficient. And we're going to need that if we're going to do science in orbit because, well, cores take a lot of our power and we just want to save as much of it for transmission as possible, particularly if we decide to use solar cells, because these first static solar panels are not particularly good. So we've got to balance the two out. So I'm trying to decide whether we should, I'm going to go back to the main screen. I'm trying to decide whether we should actually go for this first artificial satellite right now. We are, in 1955. We could go for it. I think I could probably bodge something together with what we've got to get us there. If not with what we've currently got, then maybe with a couple of nodes of solid rocket boosters or something like that, which we could get in maybe a couple of months. So let's actually look at our tech at the moment. I've rearranged it a little bit. We could get solid rocket boosters sort of going quite quickly. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. In the next 6 to 7 months, we'd be looking at having all the solid rocket boosters we probably want for be able to do that. But it wouldn't give us a craft that I'd be really happy moving forward with, because it wouldn't be consistent orbit capable. It wouldn't be expandable. We'll be using that early engine. So what I'm going to do, we're going to move this back up because I want those integral tanks. Integral tanks are going to be key for us. I think I want to get the orbital rocketry as well, because I want to start working on some engines for that, get some efficiency into it. But I'm also going to spend some science, and I'm going to spend it on orbital rocketry, the next node, because of this, the RD-0105. I want that as my upper stage engine. I could go AJ-10, and a lot of people do. You could go, Thor-able sort of style. And we could do that, and I may do that as a stopgap before we get this. It does cost a big chunk of money, but it's an engine I really like. I've used before. I really like it, and it does mean we're mixing the Russian and the American, which is quite nice because this is a basic series, and I don't want to just go entirely American. Normally, I actually start out very Russian and then switch at this point to be quite American, and I will have to change series at some point and do some American stuff. But we're going to put that on the shopping list, as it were, which leaves us with very little in the way of science left. We could grab mature Supersonic, which gives us the ability to increase this by a bit of mass, but at the moment we're okay because I think our air launch is 11.3 tons and our craft is not 11.3 tons, so that's not a problem for us. So I am going to have a look at the contracts, and what I think we'll probably do is we'll look at some of these sounding rocket contracts, and we're going to use an uprated Javelin, I think, is what we're going to do. So I'm going to pop one of those together. So what we're really looking for is we're just going to basically use that first stage of the Atlanta Jav. We've that stretch stage that we've now developed that we know is capable of basically getting a good thrust into the atmosphere. What we're going to do first of all is we're going to take this top section off, but that means I need to reroute the parts yet again. We're going to turn this back into our root part. We're going to take off all of this fairing stuff. We don't need this. Get rid of that. Yeah, get rid of that. We may want that again in the future, but we've got that in other Javelins. And so this is basically just honed down now. Extra tank, new engine, Javelin 2. There we go. We're going to put the engine in the right place. And this is going to give us an awful lot more delta V than we had. But we need a top section. So what we're going to do is we're going to open up. Let's save and continue. We're going to open up one of our Javelins that we know has got a top load on it. We'll go for Javelin 9. We're going to merge that, so that's now appears here, and I'm going to take the top bit off that, stick it onto there. We know we've already tooled it. Wonderful. Now that does also mean that if we look down here, we are at 19.67 tons. So technically, where we've actually in the past lightened our load, we could actually just put a little bit more in, just a tiny smidgen more in. However, that's going to take us over, so we're not going to worry about that at the moment. We can refine that if we really wanted to. We're going to save this, I think. Again, keep saving, always save. And we're going to build a couple of those right now. 1, 2. We'll put 3 on the build list just because we can, and we'll number them when we're out. We'll rename them, and then we're going to have a look at spending some more money, because we've got quite a bit of money here. Alright, so let's have a look. We've got tech that we want to do. We've got the orbital rocketry there. We want to move our other orbital rocketry up. We want to get that up as early as possible. And I'm tempted by the solid rockets. But we're gonna push on with the liquid now, because we're gonna actually augment with solid rockets later, I think, when we go for bigger, heavier payloads. But we want to get that rocket structure built first of all, and that means that I want my avionics. And I want it as quickly as possible. So that's avionics. Got early avionics, so that's going to move up. Early avionics. Get my avionics up there, all the way up. So now we've rearranged all of our science. So we're trying to get our avionics done as quickly as possible. I'm actually tempted to put that in next, even though it's going to kill us for time. That is a good question. So if we did that, and we did that, and we did that, and that would allow us to put the avionics together for this craft. And it would be the best avionics that we would probably want. That's debatable. You know what? We can actually sit with this sounding rocket for a while doing a few contracts. It's got enough power to do it. So we're going to do that. We're going to go for the big things first. We're going to get these biggies out of the way, which is probably not the most efficient way to do it if you're doing speedruns, but we're not. So what money do we need in the bank? We're going to need to tool some tanks later on. We're also going to need to pay for this, which is going to be 60,000, and I want an engine that's going to be at like 90, so that's 150,000, plus say another 100,000 for tooling probably. What do we get for these contracts? We're going to get 75. We're going to get to, right, so they're going to pay for the building of the rocket. So I think we just look at spending some funds right now. First of all, I'm going to get the tracking station going. Oh, we need the lunar range communication to do that. Can't do it, so we're going to leave that for now, obviously. Don't need to do that right now. So I think we're going to go upgrade points. So we're going to go pop, plop, plop. We're going to take this down to 40, 39. Okay. And I'm going to put 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 in there. 1 in the VAB. There we go. So what's our current upgrade points? We have 19 in the R&D, 11 in the VAB, and yeah, we haven't done much so far this episode. Well, so far this second half of this episode. So I think what we'll do is we're going to rocket through the Coniston, and we're going to get a flight off with that, I think, and then we'll end the episode with that. So let us get the Coniston done, and I will see you when it's ready to launch. Right, the Coniston is ready to go, so let's select a suitable flight for it. This is going to be its first flight out of the stable. This is obviously a brand new aircraft, new airframe, absolutely everything. It's literally a copy of the one though, so you know, we're going to go for this. It's had a few days now with having to rebuild that and doing the Atlanta Jav and all that. So they've got this, which is going to allow us to go, let's see, launch crew vessel to 45 kilometers. We should be able to do that. It's going to get us 30,000. Wonderful. We'll take that. Right, let's go launch this thing. There we go. Janet in the pilot seat. We're just engaging our engines. That's loud, isn't it? So our engines are engaged. We've now got much more thrust because we have those 3 sets of engines instead of just 2, and that means that we've got a lot of thrust, and we can actually pull this craft fast up. What we want to do though is actually activate this flight recording task thing as we go on up there. So climbing on up as fast as we can, and we're aiming for 45. We should easily get 45 because we've got these engines operated. They've got more thrust than before. It's going to be an easy flight, I'm hoping. He says entirely the pilot's fault. He obviously got carried away. We had a wing issue, I think. I'm not entirely sure. I might rewatch the video to try and understand exactly what happened in slow-mo, because I haven't at the moment, but I'm guessing that the wings ripped off and then the whole body slewed around. We basically ripped the fuselage off. Is that what I think happened? But I'd have to rewatch it. And that was partly because we actually pulled up too hard. And it was just too much for the wings. If we'd actually strengthened the wings, they might have survived that. So maybe I've gone a bit too light on the wing structures. I have to think about that. So we've got about 50 seconds to go. We're still climbing nicely. We're well above the target speed. Thank you. Why is that stopped? Right. Well above the target speed. So for some reason I actually stopped the experiment. I'm guessing that's my fault for not looking properly at it. Let's have a look at it. We haven't got a lot of. We've got all these contracts from the previous missions that I need to get rid of. Alright, so we're heading on. We can see the coastline there. We are now looking as though we're going to be okay. Right. I should really put fine controls on, but I am not going to do that. We're about to run out of the oxygen reserves in the tanks. So what I'm actually going to do is just throw right back now. Throw right back. Down, because I don't need to go over 50. We do not need to go over 50 in reality. There we go. Just pop that down. There we go. All the way down. Thank you very much. Give me some horizontal speed, please. There we go. That's wonderful. We've done that. Maintain this, and we can head ourselves back down now. We can actually just see if we can get a. Oh, could we get a speed record? Was 1,500 a speed record? No, not going to make it. Oof, close, but not good enough. Right. I suppose we could put the brakes on at the moment. Although, you know what? Let's head down. Let's get ourselves heading down. We've got a lot of speed on this craft at the moment. I'm a little concerned it's going to overheat because it is going fast. This is a lot faster than it actually probably needed to go. We could have gradually got up to that altitude, taken our time, slowed the engine burn down. We might try that with the next flight while we try and get some of this data, because we're not getting this Mach 2 data while we're over the 40 kilometer mark. So it's a bit of a waste. All this time sort of soaring like this is actually a waste for us. So I think what we'll do is we'll drop it into a dive, and then we'll do a sort of pull out of the dive as we start coming down. So what we'll do is we'll just put it onto its prograde. There we go. And what I want to do is just sit it just so it's going to just so that it's going to be just below the horizon. It's going to definitely be heading down. It's going to gain a bit of, or not lose speed too quickly. But we want it to sort of stay okay. So we're going to now level it because we're below the 40, and we're just going to pull that back just a little bit. There we go. Because the air is really thin here, so our wings are not giving us the lift they will later on. So we're going to hold it there and hope that this actually is going to allow us to stay hypersonic. Is it hypersonic? Supersonic? Beyond supersonic? I don't know. What's the boundary for hypersonic? For as long as possible. So we're getting the data. We're getting some data, but it just takes so much time, doesn't it? Look at that. Oof. So we potentially, to complete this task, should really build a craft capable of flying at Mach 2 with probably a jet engine. Would actually be the best way to do it. But we haven't done that, so that's something else to think about. Right, we're just going to go over. I think we're probably going to go straight across there before we slow down. So I'm going to speed this up a little bit. Let's get this sped up. Remember to slow down the time warp when we actually decide to do anything with the plane, because that's the way craziness ends happening like last time. Right, down below 1,000. Okay. Starting to get into the thicker air now, so it should start to slow down quite considerably. Right, yeah, we're definitely starting to slow. Once we get to sub 600, I will start to actually turn the craft, I think, which will not be very far away by now. Coming down. Right, I'm going to switch it on to the normal, like that, into normal speed, not the normal, because we're not looking at orbit. We're going to just put the nose down just a bit to retain some speed, I think. Just give me some more speed. Keep me above that speed. It's not going to keep me above it, is it? No. So we're going to just pull up just a bit, and what we will do is we'll just start to turn. There we go, just a little bit, ever so gently. Yeah, it's a Mach 2 turn there. I'm not entirely sure that's the the most efficient way of doing it, slowing down the craft, but we'll see. I mean, I know the shuttle when it came in used to do a lot of S-turns, not quite as extreme as this obviously, but it used to do a lot of S-turns to actually scrub the speed off. So we're going to head back over there. So we're going to head back towards the east, and then we're going to hopefully make our way towards the launch site. We're not going to get there, we might not. I don't think we will. I don't think we will make it to the launch site, but we'll see. So just pull it round, and then we get to 90. We'll just straighten it out, and at least we're heading back inland, and we know we're going to hopefully land on the land, which is much safer than landing in water on this at the moment. So there we go. Straighten up. Oh, too far. Oh, wobbling. Autopilot is, fly-by-wire autopilot is not enjoying that too much. Put the nose down, get a bit of speed, and I'm going to speed you up this a bit. Right, there we go. So we're just going to bring it down through the clouds, I say clouds, through the slight clouds, and see what we're going. Because remember, before we do maneuvers, to slow it down, because I just did another one and we could have snapped our wings off again, and that would have been embarrassing. That would have been really embarrassing, in fact. Right, still got quite a bit of speed. I don't really want to deploy the parachutes when we've got a lot of speed. Getting it to below 200 I think is acceptable for parachute deployment. I still think it's very high, but yeah, well, the physics is interesting at low speed with planes on this, so we'll see. Right, tap it to normal. Just going to pull it up just a little. We want to sit on the horizon. There we go. And then we can speed up again. And it's just going to take its time now, slowing down. We're going down okay. We're moving forward at a reasonable speed. That's pretty good. Just check that our actual altitude isn't going to lie to us. There we go. We see the coast over there again. So we're going to get close. We're down to 1,000. What we'll do is we will slow down and we'll fire off the parachutes. And there we go. So we're going to hit 1,000. There we go. Do that. And then what we'll do is we will deploy the brakes, which are the tiny little bits there, which I'm not entirely sure do much, but you know what, it actually made us speed up when I deployed them. Anyway, fire off the parachutes. There we go. And they flip us over. Big high bit of G-force there, but that's fine. Now, watching this come down will be interesting because we've put an extra engine in that tail, which has made it significantly heavier, I've just realised, and we haven't repositioned our parachutes. Should have probably moved this one slightly further inboard, but we'll see what happens when we get lower down. We could end up actually blowing one of the engines off. One of the other problems with this 3-engine arrangement is in the early flights where we had I think an engine go, if the lower engine or the upper engine went, you didn't get a slew sideways. There was sort of horizontal velocity. Well, horizontal thrust was consistent. You did have the slight problem of it sort of a turning moment, lifting the nose up or down, but you didn't have a side-to-side motion. Here, if one of these engines goes, of those bottom two, we potentially going to start turning so sort of left or right, which is a little harder to deal with in a plane. But we'll come to that, I think, if it happens. Right, we just put the plane down, and that is us done. Mission complete, finished. So from me, until next time, have a great one.